Hi guys, today we're gonna paint the droner's desk from the Witcher Oldworld board game. As you can see on the screen above, we will try to achieve the kind of a bluish tone and a bit of a nest underneath. The reference card is a nice graphic, however it's pretty useless in terms of painting. It's pretty much lack of color, that's why I decided to print some print screens from the Witcher Wild Hunt game. As you can see on the reference, he has some sort of fin on the back, which is kind of a pinkish color, and I will try to use some color shift paint for that, so stay with me and see later on. But apart from that, it's pretty much bluish skin tone, a little bit of a gray purple tone as well. You can see the comparison of the card from the board game and the PC screen. You can see the huge difference, that's why I decided to switch over. The model was primed with the grey primer from Citadel. As you can see now, there is a wee hole under the drowner, so we'll try to do some water effect, some sort of effect that he's jumping off that hole and the splash of water around it as well. The model itself, the monster, is paint with the dark sea blue for the start, so as you can see now we're gonna paint all over the drowners with the dark sea blue from Vallejo. You might skip the eyes as they're gonna be white, but if you want to go and paint everything as you go, feel free to do so. You can paint it over the eyes later on as well, so it's really up to you which way you want to approach. Next we're gonna use Mephiston Red, and we're gonna paint the big fish under him, and we're also gonna use this color to paint inside his mouth. Now I'm gonna get a bit of a screamer pink, and I'm gonna paint over two smaller fishes that are on our base as well. Again, for the fishes you can choose a different color tone. I decided to go with a kind of red and pink just to have them a bit more stand off from the base, but it's really up to you which way you want to go with it. Another reason was that I'm gonna use this pink tone for the drowners itself later on as well. Now we're switching over to the screaming skull, and we're gonna paint the bone and two skulls that are based on our base. I am also using this stone to paint the ice balls. There are also a couple of seashells, so I use the ratkin flesh to paint them over. Now we're gonna get a bit of a overlap sunset, and we're gonna mix with our original dark sea blue, and we're gonna paint the snails that are lying down on our base. There's a few of them, and we're gonna put a kind of greenish tone on the shells. There are also a few rocks on the base, and we're gonna paint them over with the German grey from Vallejo. And now we're gonna switch to scrag brown, and we're gonna paint a couple branches that are lying down underneath as well. And finally we're gonna switch over to Armageddon Dunes, and we're gonna paint the rest of the base with this technical paint. It has a kind of sandy effect. I used that before with my monsters models from The Witcher, and if you want to have a nice sand effect, this texture is perfect. Make sure you use the brush, the old brush, because that texture paint could ruin your fine brushes. For the smaller areas, when you can't use the big brush, you can also use the toothpick, which for me it's a perfect tool to apply this thick paint. We want to have that nice sand beach effect, so we want to have a bit of a thickness of this paint, so that's why I decided to go with the toothpick, which perfectly applied with the narrow gaps in between, let's say, the branches or the rocks or whichever. So this is how our monster look like so far with all the base colors. Now we're gonna put a bit of wash, so we're gonna start with the Nuno oil with a little bit of medium, and we're gonna paint over the drowners itself, this mix of black wash and a bit of a medium. I forgot to darken a bit the hole underneath, so I mixed our dark sea blue with a bit of a brown and just painted over a little bit in that hole that the drowners are coming off. So this is our model with the black wash on it, and next we're gonna apply the wash on the base. For this purpose I decided to go with the Seraphim Sepia, which is the kind of light brown tone, and for the sandy beach it will perfectly highlight our grains from our texture paint, and as well all the bits that are lying down or on the base. I have also applied this wash on the ice balls just to darken them a bit. Next we're gonna switch over to our dark sea blue, and later on as well with a bit of a screamer pink. Initially we're gonna do a bit. Initially we're gonna highlight all the exposed area with the dark sea blue. We want to break over the wash from those areas first, and then we will be adding our pink tone as well. The pink tone will be further lightened with the Screaming Skull, but stay with me. We're gonna go through that process very soon. So now we will be mixing the Screamer Pink with our Dark Sea Blue, and we're gonna apply this tone only in front of the drowners, and again we're gonna apply that to the exposed areas. We avoid to paint any recesses, as we want to keep them dark to have a better contrast in between. So now we add in a little bit of ivory, and we're gonna use our brighter tone. And again, anytime you apply the brighter tone, make sure you cover the smaller areas to keep a little bit of that transition in between each and every layer that you're gonna put it on. So next we add furthermore of the ivory, just to bring that tone again a bit more lighter. I have also applied a bit of this tone to his fin on his back. Then next, the pure Screamer Pink, very watery for his fin and his back. We're just gonna paint it over to get that nice pinkish color. Again, this will be highlighted furthermore, and towards the end we're gonna apply the color shift paint on it as well, just to have that nice glowing effect. Now, as you can see, we brightened up our tone furthermore, and we're gonna paint again the front, the most exposed areas when the most light will catch up. And furthermore, our final color, final lighting stage with again a bit of an extra ivory, but at this stage I decide to add a tiny bit more of the dark sea blue to have a bit more of the grayish tone. So this is our final stage of highlighting the front of our drowners. Now we're back to our red, Mephiston red, and with the very watery paint we're gonna glaze his belly button. As you can see on the reference card, he had a bit of a reddish color around his belly button. I want to copy that on my miniature, so that's why Mephiston red, plenty water and tiny little touches just to make that area cover with the red tone. We'll also highlight the mouth with the Mephiston red, however not that watery consistency, so make sure you get the proper consistency of your paint before you apply it there. Next we're gonna switch to the back of the monster, and we're gonna use the mixture of the Sotte green and the dark sea blue. Again, we're starting over with the tiny bit of the Sotte green, and any further layer will be with additional bit of the Sotte green, and the final layer will be pure Sotte green. So stay with me and have a look how's the process going over, and make sure again once you applying every consecutive layer just to cover a tiny bit smaller area as you go. As I mentioned earlier on, we add a little bit more of Sotte green and repeat the process. And finally we switch to the pure Sotek green and highlight the most exposed areas only. Yeah, so this is how our drowners look so far. Now we're gonna do a bit of a highlight on the base. So we start with a couple of fishes. So we're gonna use the Screamer Pink with a little bit of ivory. They're not very much exposed on that base in terms, they're pretty flattened. So we added a little bit of an extra color just to break them up. So we add an extra ivory to the pink just to highlight them furthermore. Next I applied the red tone from the Army Painter over the mouth and as well over the big fish that is lying down under the drowner. I have got back to our washes. I wasn't really happy with the skulls and shells on the base, so I put an extra layer of the Agrax Earthshades on those. So the two skulls underneath and the shells were covered again with a little bit of the Agrax Earthshade. Now I do a bit of a highlight with the Screaming Skull. As you can see, I put a wee tiny highlight on the center of the ice balls and as well on the skulls and the wee bone that is on the base. Next I switch over to Zandri Dust and I'm painting over all the edges of every shell that is based there, and also the wee lines on those shells as well. As well with the very watery Zandri Dust, I put a tiny coat of the watery Zandri Dust on the wee skulls just to blend those blend those two tones nicely. Next the Scrag Brown, and again we want to highlight those branches that lie down underneath. So I used initially the pure Scrag Brown, but then I mix it a bit with the Zandri Dust and do a nice wee edge highlighting here and there, just to bring those branches a little bit more. Now I'm gonna do a bit of a highlighting of the fish underneath, and I'm using the Mephiston Red with a little bit of the Screaming Skull. So we're gonna kind of achieve a nice pinkish color, and then again the edges on the fin on his back, we apply a tiny bit of that kind of pinkish tone on it as well. Now with the Cassandra yellow, we're gonna apply a little bit of yellow tone on the shells underneath our mini. And as well on the fish, just to have that bit more pinky orange red tone trespassing. Now we finish off the sand, so we're gonna do a bit of dry brushing, first of all with the Zandri dust, and later on with the Screaming Skull on the very top parts of it. We want to have those grains from our Armageddon dunes a bit more visible and exposed, so a bit of a dry brushing on the texture will do the job. We also have to do a bit of highlighting of our snails, so we're gonna use the Sotte Green and Avalanche Sunset. The mix together will give us a nice green tone, and we're gonna apply on the top of those snail shells that are lying down under the droners on the sand. Then the German grey, traditionally for the rim of the model, so we're gonna paint it over the rim with the dark grey tone. At this stage I decide to put the varnish, so I apply the one coat of the matte and then one coat of the glossy, just to have that satin effect on the mini, and then I have applied my final touches. So initially, as you can see, I put the dark blue. It's a shift color paint from the Green Stuff World, and I apply few very thin coats on the fin on the back of the mini, just to have that nice effect of the color shift between blue and purple pink. I think it looks cool, and it's well worth invested into that. I want to have his eyes to be glossy, so I put a bit of a art coat on his eyeballs as well. And finally, for our water splash effect, so I decided to use the Darkenhof Nightshade and the Gloss Heavy Gel from Liquitex, and we're gonna be applying that under the mini, in the hole, under him. So I want to achieve that kind of look that it will be looking like he's jumping off that hole and splashing the water all over the place. So we're applying the gel in the hole, quite thick. We're gonna add a tiny bit of our wash, the Darkenhof Nightshade, into it, and we will try to create the effect of the water splashing around. So again, with the wooden stick, we're trying to pull that gel outside of that circle. Again, don't put too much of the color. The gel, once it's dries, it's going transparent, so it will be pretty much dark anyway. As you can imagine, you know, the monster will be in the dark, deep hole, so I want to have that kind of a dark, dirty water effect on it as well. So this is the first part of the gel applied, and we'll leave it to dry, and this is what's coming off. Again, I will apply another layer of the gel without any paint at this stage, just to have that extra bit of water coming off. The color is already there, so you don't need to be worried about that. I also apply a couple drops of that gel on the monster itself, just to have that kind of effect of, let's say, of the wet hand or something like that. Towards the end I put some plants on the base as well, just to break that bare land effect. And this is it. This is how it looks like once it's finished. So thanks for watching it. I hope you enjoyed this video, this painting tutorial, and if so, please don't forget to subscribe my channel so you won't miss any further coming videos. Again, if you enjoyed this particular video, please don't forget to thumb up, just to feed the YouTube algorithm. And as I said, once again, first, thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.